So, welcome to the first podcast of the Business Talk Show with Daniel Wilkinson, the most inventive title for a podcast ever, and the only one that was available, weirdly. Today we're joined by business owner Paul Lowder, who owns his own photography business.
Sorry, Dan, I leapt in too quickly there.
Sorry.
Oh,
Go
no. For it. Morning, Dan. How we doing?
I'm doing good. It is afternoon since we've talked so much this morning already before filming this.
Okay, let's do this again. Good afternoon, Dan. How are you doing?
Good afternoon, Paul. I'm doing good. So, tell me a bit about your background in terms of where you started in life.
I kind of left school and had to get a job, and I worked at a pharmaceutical factory for 22 years. Started off in the warehouse and ended up as an IT project manager. Got made redundant, and at that point kind of made a bit of a mistake by staying with IT. But I got a job as a network manager in a school for 10 years, and you know, I kind of learnt that I wanted to work with people and not inanimate objects that run operating systems. So I ended up working for a charity, working with young people and taking photographs and videos, funnily enough. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It's something I've always done, taking photographs. And when I was in the school, introduced photography to the school and started teaching year 8s how to use small handhelds and in a perspective sort of fashion. And then when I was made redundant from the charity, I went, do you know, I've had enough of being made redundant. I'm going to go out on a limb and make my own company taking photographs and making videos. And that's kind of how I've ended up here today, I think.
And that's the podcast over, so thank you very much for coming. So this business is called Sheer Aspect.
Yes, it is.
Is it Sheer Aspect Photography or just Sheer Aspect?
Just Sheer Aspect.
Nice one. And what was the process of starting up that business? Was it just sort of a spark you've had in your brain for a while, or was it just sort of, I'm sick of being made redundant, I'm going to go off and start a business?
Yeah, I think it was the sheer frustration of being made redundant again. And at the age I was, in my early 50s, it was difficult to find somebody who would take me on. And, you know, you'd like to think when you get to my age that you still got a lot to give, still got a lot of work in you. And yet a lot of companies are quite reluctant to take people on. I know you don't have to put your date of birth on CVs and things anymore, however. People do have ways of finding out.
So in terms of coming up with that name, Sheer Aspect.
Oh, that was a trip in itself. I just played with words. I started off with photography and distilled that down to through an old school. Oh, come on, my brain's just died. What do you call it? On a film you used to get a negative, didn't you? And that negative was also known as... Oh, my brain has died. Yeah. Oh, dear. Anyway, the aspect part is quite easy because an aspect can be a view of absolutely anything. So, and I do like to take photographs of absolutely everything. And sheer now, you see, there's a link word which I can't find in my head. Anyway, I ended up with sheer transparency.
Yeah, that's
it. Transparency is sheer. And relates back to an image and a negative, and therefore a photograph. So, 2 words hopefully describe what I try and do.
Yeah. So, with that name as well, a lot of media businesses go for names with media in the name. I'm a victim of doing this as well, partly because my name is Daniel Wilkinson, so it spells DW and then media at the end, because that's what I do. Is there a lot of people who sort of... Have you had to do sort of more marketing in that fact that you have to point out that Sheer Aspect is a photography company, or is it very easy for people to go, boom, that's what that is.
I'd like to hope it's easy for them to identify that it's photography and video. I do try and make sure that my website's tagged correctly. My Facebook page mentions photography quite a lot. It does have a lot of photographs on it. Instagram's the same. Twitter's I still haven't got my head around Twitter yet.
Yeah. I'm the same. I do tweet on there a lot, but I don't understand it fully.
And I do find that, because I didn't use Twitter or Instagram before I set my company up, but I thought I need a presence. And I do find that a lot of people now, they take the option to post exactly the same post on both on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah.
Which I kind of don't understand, because you're generating the same following. So the following's going to see exactly the same things on the 3 platforms.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure what you gain from that.
It's just different platforms, isn't it? You're looking at me because you know that I do that. And also,
well, no, you're not alone. There's many people. I do try and put some different stuff up on the 3 platforms.
Yeah.
I do like photos on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
But Twitter seems to be more of a text-based.
Spontaneous.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah. Which is maybe why I can't get my head around it.
Yeah, I tweeted this morning that I think Facebook have just updated their sort of look and feel of their website online. Just quickly tweeted out a blog I'd done, but for other I wouldn't post that on Instagram or anything. I wouldn't know where to put it.
No, I wouldn't.
Because you can't link on Instagram.
No,
so it's pointless when it comes to that. So, in terms of building this business, you came up with a name. Did you have that issue of when you go on social media, your name was already taken?
I didn't, funnily enough, no, because I did a bit of research before I started doing it. There is something in America, I think. In the Far East, there's a company called Sheer Aspect, but it has nothing to do with photography or video.
Yeah.
So that wasn't too bad. But yes, I did do that research before I went forward with the name, because otherwise I thought I'm going to be stepping on other people's toes.
Yeah, no, definitely. So you came up with the idea, you got a name. What were the next steps? Was it sort of did you have to go out and sort of find to build a website, stuff like that?
Yeah. As part of my research, I also checked that the domains were available that I wanted, .com and .co.uk. And yes, they were available, because I wanted to have a sheeraspect.com, keep it nice and simple. And yes, that can be a difficulty when a company's already got it registered, especially in the domain that you want. So I was quite lucky with my combination of words that people hadn't quite come up with that.
Right. And I mean, the person who probably bought Asda.com is probably laughing in his grave at the moment. But in terms of getting new clients, how do you go about doing that? Is it word of mouth mainly, or is it?
It does tend to be word of mouth. I do get hits on my website, and I have had a few contacts from that. But most of it tends to be word of mouth.
Yeah. And then from that, how do you go about converting a client, especially in the photography space? Do you go and show a portfolio of work, or is it sort of very hands-off, they book you over the phone, you appear?
I tend to point them in the direction of the website if they haven't been there. And I do have some photos on there. If they want a specific, a portfolio view for a specific event, then I'll put some photos together and give them a link to that. It's trying to meet the client's needs, isn't it?
Yeah. So what's your sort of crowning achievement with Sheer Aspect so far then?
That's a very, am I allowed to say damn?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's a very deep and meaningful question, isn't it? Do you know, I did some work for a charity over in North Shields, and I was really pleased with the photos I took. But the video, I always felt there was a bit more to go on it, but I never quite got the chance to add to it. They wanted it done for a particular date, and I couldn't quite get all the members of staff that I needed to appear on it. So it had to go in the format it did. But it worked. You've got to be happy with that.
Yeah.
I quite enjoyed doing a video of a house, would you believe?
Right.
Gentleman wanted his rental property videoed and photographed, and so I got the chance to use my gimbal and potter around the house. I'd never done that before. It's quite a difficult thing to get the continuity.
I can imagine. So when it comes to sort of that thing of kit, how, I mean, it's so fast-paced moving, the media industry, especially the photography industry.
It is.
With new kit coming out probably every month or something.
Yeah.
How is it with sort of working with kit that you know and love, and then...
I've been quite lucky. I bought in with quite a high-end full-frame camera early on, and that gives me the opportunity to take some really nice photos. But it's 5-year-old now, so I've had to work out, do I want to replace that with another full-frame DSLR, digital single lens reflex, or a mirrorless, and I've made a decision to go DSLR at this point. I have bought myself a little mirrorless because I think the business is going to go down that road.
Is that the EOS R that you've got, the Canon?
It's an EOS M.
Right.
It's an EOS M50 that I got.
Right.
The EOS R should be a lovely camera. It's got the same sensor as
I think it's quite
Mark
expensive,
IV,
though, isn't it?
but it's still quite
ridiculously expensive.
Yeah. To actually get into the market as a trial, I thought that it's a bit much to be forking out at this point, especially as they're bringing an update this year, Canon, and it's the EOS R's got the same sensor as the 5D Mark IV, which I bought.
Yeah.
So the 5D Mark IV sensor isn't a new sensor. It just seemed a bit silly to be buying the same equipment in a slightly different format. Yeah. But you've got to, looking at the mirrorless market, Sony seem to have such a killer ability with their autofocus. However, when I looked at, because I was going to go Sony for the mirrorless side of things, but when I looked at it, a lot of people complain that because the sensor is exposed, they get a lot of dust on the sensor. So people spend a lot of time cleaning their sensor when they should be taking photographs. And I thought, that's not really where the professional market's at, is it? No. Oh, excuse me while I take my lens off and clean my sensor. It's not going to work, is it?
No. So in terms of sort of the split between video and photography, you do both.
I do.
And how do you find that partnering with clients that want both? Is it easier because they've got one person who can do it all? Or?
It can be. It's quite a balance. Literally, sometimes when you've got a DSLR in one hand, a gimbal in the other, and you're trying to run both at the same time, that can be quite awkward. So it's more about putting it puts a bit of stress on the solo person rather than the person wanting the end result. It would be easier probably with two people working that. I just can't afford to hire somebody else in most of the time. The margins aren't very big these days. It's quite a busy little marketplace, as you know.
So on that as well, with the market at the moment, there is a lot of what I'd say young people coming in and probably just leaving college or just leaving uni, starting their own business, and then going straight into charging a lot less than what you charge and what I charge an hour as well, and what I charge a day and what you charge a day.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? Is that damaging the market, or is it sort of keeping it fresh or keeping you on your toes?
It makes it difficult to justify the price that I charge. However, a lot of the young people I've seen haven't got sort of £5,000 worth of equipment.
Yeah.
and sadly, that's what I've got to try and cover my costs for.
Then you've obviously got your insurance, all your car
That's
expenses,
right.
all
That's
that sort
right.
of stuff.
And the car insurance and making everything super safe, and and then there's the hardware behind that. So you've got computer equipment which will run some nice software to create some nice videos. You've got to buy the software, and they keep upgrading the software, so you need to maintain your licenses. It's an ongoing battle, isn't it?
It is. I mean, my computer went in December, and I had to get a new one, and it was horrible even thinking about spending that much money on something. Yeah. But ultimately, it's something that I needed to spend the money on. It drained my bank account completely. But I needed it because otherwise I wouldn't be able to make any money. It was one of those things that to make money, I need to get that. And I mean, my computer was probably about 4 years old. And it's a gaming laptop, and you need a high spec thing to edit video and photo and that on. It's one of those things that you just sort of think, how do I justify this? Oh, I need more money. That's how I justify this. It's one of those things that sort of, I mean, you could probably go out tomorrow and if you had a limited budget, spend a lot of money on kit. But then, would you be able to use that kit to its full potential just because you have rather a lot of
Well, that's right. There's the old saying, you've got to speculate to accumulate. My laptop was starting to go quite slowly. It had the most memory that it would take. The only thing I could really upgrade was the hard drive, so I replaced the hard drive last year with an SSD, and it's brought it back to life, and I'm going, oh, thank the Lord, because I don't now need to buy a new laptop. Did the same with my desktop, and again, that's flying along there now. So it's nice that there are still upgrades available. You can buy into rather than outlaying for a whole new box of metal. But again, the processors and everything in computer hardware change at such a rate of knots these days. Having a discrete video card makes a huge difference when you're trying to render 3,500 photos or something stupid like that, or a 20-minute exposition on the latest event that you've covered. But even doing a 3-minute video these days, it's quite intense. Yeah.
And this is something I don't think a lot of people understand with video, and especially photo as well. Like, I can't get into photo. I've done it at events before, but I can't edit them. I can't sit there and edit them for that long because I just get tired of it, and I'm not very good at it. And it's one of those things that video just takes so long to edit, and I don't think people realise sort of how long it takes. So when you go and charge a client, another day of editing, and they go, why does it take a full day? You're like, you are aware of what this entails. Have you ever had sort of a client come back and say, oh, it'll only take you an hour? Or anything like that?
Yeah. What's the one that comes, or it used to come free with your iPhone?
iMovie.
Yeah. Well, I've used iMovie. Well, yeah, okay, it's not quite the same, is it?
Yeah. And then you're shooting in neutral colour profiles. You're going to go and bring out the colours. Like, use iMovie.
And you've got 20 tracks. And you've got music, which levels that you want to adjust. You've got audio from people that you want to adjust. It's not an easy task.
Yeah.
It's quite creative. I quite like editing video, but it's a long and laborious thing.
Yeah. Have you ever had something that you've used for a while and you've shown clients and stuff, and then you stop using it, and then they go, ooh, why?
Do you know, I don't know what I have. I've introduced new things, especially in my video content, like lower thirds and things like that, and people have gone, oh, that's nice. So it must, this change in feel and change in, it's like websites. Websites keep reinventing themselves, don't they? It's all big scrolly things now with dropping down to exactly where you want to be, and it never used to be like
progressive web
that.
apps and stuff like that.
Yeah. But have I? Do you know? I don't think I have done.
I always used to use this music site called Artlist. I don't know if you've heard of it. And you pay a yearly fee and you get like a license where you can use as much music as you want from that platform.
Mm-hmm.
And I was using it for about a year, and it was when I was in full-time work.
Mm-hmm.
And I paid for it out of my own pocket. Their company didn't do it. And I used it for all of my videos at work because it was just in my name. I used it for work. I used it for stuff I did outside with my own business. And when I started my own business, I didn't renew it because it was 200 quid. And I didn't have 200 quid, you know. And a client sent me a message saying, oh, I'd like this track off this website. And I'd had about 3 that week to do it. And I was like, how do I tell you that this isn't, no, I don't have access to that anymore.
Yeah,
can you find something else? And they send you one on YouTube and it's copyrighted and you go, just wait 2 seconds. Oh, you want them to pay the $2,000 license fee on this piece of music? Yeah. No? All right, okay, we'll use this then.
Yeah. I mean, it's quite nice that YouTube provide copyright-free stuff now. You know, the YouTube audio libraries out there. But yeah, when people I want this particular song by this particular person, well, it's copyrighted. Yeah. What does that mean? Well, they've got the rights to it, and it's going to cost a lot of money if you want to use that. Yeah. And people sometimes don't understand that. It takes a bit of discussion to try and steer them away from the hugely expensive £10,000 a time musical content, when hopefully it's the video side, the actual visual side, that's going to make the difference, and the audio's there just to perk it up.
Have you ever had that awkward conversation with I'm probably asking you very personal questions at the moment. Have you ever had that awkward moment with a client where you have to lower their expectation on something? Just because their expectation and the cost of something's not really there with the level they're on about?
Yes, I have.
Name those clients now on a list.
No, I can't. No, I'm not allowed to do that. No. Non-disclosure, GDPR, whoever else you want to talk about. But yes, you know, some clients want the world. And you know, much as I'd love to give them the world, and I will try and give them the world, the reality is that some of the things, you're not going to get a Star Wars movie for a couple of £100, are you?
How do you deal with those objections then? If I was a client and I said to you, I want a 10-minute video with loads of After Effects in it, loads of effects in it and stuff like that. I want 2 people filming it, but I only want to pay you £100.
Yeah, okay. Well, I smile a lot. Yeah. You know, you've got to smile, be polite, and generally point out, you know, that the budgets for what they're talking about are in tens of thousands of pounds. You know, we're not even talking about CGI or anything like that, are we? We're just talking about some special effects and maybe the odd gun going off or a volcano exploding in the background or something like that. Volcano exploding? Well, why would you want one of those? I don't know. I must have had a client who wanted a volcano exploding at some point. Yeah,
I'm sort of wondering which client that was, to be honest. Find out after the break, I'm guessing. Yeah. I'm intrigued to see where this video project started with a volcano in the background and ended with no volcano.
Well, there's so many things you can do in software these days. But unless you have a studio the size of the James Bond set and a budget to match, it's very, very difficult to get to that level. There's lots of clever things you can do.
I can't wrap my head around After Effects. I really can't. It just confuses me for some reason. I just look at it and go, no. Just take me back to Premiere, honestly. I can at least work that.
Well, yeah, as long as you can keep it in the software you work with and you're happy with, then you're going to come out with a good result. I think if you start dabbling and unless you're really competent with some of these things, you can cause more damage than you're actually going to fix.
There was a time where I'd sat down and I downloaded a template for After Effects online, and I played around with it for hours. I'm talking 3 hours. It was the end of a client video, and at the end of it, this website popped up and flipped around the screen and did all this amazing stuff, and it looked really cool, right? Put it in the client video. The client got back to me about an hour later after sending them this video. It was a full 10-minute video with this website at the end going, book now. It got back and went, I don't want that at the end. Can we just leave the website out and just put a URL? I was like, Okay.
That's great.
It was like, I
isn't it?
like it, but it just doesn't fit the video. I was
Yeah.
like, I spent 3 hours on that.
That's right.
Okay, I'll just delete it. Just click the delete button. That's 3 hours of work gone. But I mean, that's sort of what, you know, you've got to understand as sort of a videographer. You know, you're going to be dealing with not what you want personally, what the client wants.
That's right.
And it's sort of one of those things that you go, ooh, well, I think this would work. But then that's only a suggestion to them. They could go, no, it won't fit what we want, and you know, just change it.
I think the other side of it is, as a videographer, you're always learning.
Yeah.
There's always something new, be it a new technique with the camera, a new technique with the gimbal, or a new technique within the software that you use. There is always something out there. At least these days, we've got the internet to back us up, and it tends to be that somebody has done something similar.
Yeah.
And probably produced how do I do this video on YouTube?
Yeah. So with that as well, did you go to like have you got a degree in photography or anything, or was it sort of all self-taught learning?
It's all self-taught. One of the first things I ever bought for myself when I had a little bit of money was a camera.
Yeah.
I think it was about 14, 15. But I never ever had the cash to have my own SLR or anything like that. When I started at the school, I convinced them that having a DSLR in the school would be a good idea for the quality of photography that they were going to get out of me.
Well done on convincing them with that one.
And that worked really quite nicely. And they did get some nice quality photos out of me and their camera. But I had a birthday, and I thought, I'm going to treat myself. And that's how I got my first DSLR.
Right.
And it's kind of gone on from there. I have a little setup I take on holiday as well. And, you know, it's like Aladdin's cave, or Pandora's box, is it, once you open that. Oh, that's a nice piece of equipment.
Yeah. Do you ever do that thing where you sort of look at something online and go, I really want that, but my bank won't let me? Just one of those things.
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I have found there's not a lot of equipment I buy new. I can't afford it.
Yeah.
I do get a lot of equipment off eBay, and if you're patient and you're lucky, there are still bargains to be found out there. And none of the equipment I've bought from eBay has let me down, touch wood. Touching the wood, or the veneer, or whatever it was.
I'm not quite sure what this is.
I'm hoping it was
IKEA
wood. Stuff. So yeah, you know, once I would love to have a Canon 1DX Mark III or whatever, 1DX Mark II. They're at the minute. The 3's coming out, I think. But realistically, a £4,000 camera.
Yep.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah. So if you knew somebody who started out in the industry and they came to you and went, what kit do I need to get started? I know there's sort of not an answer you can give generically, like, oh, this very specific type of camera. No. But what would be sort of the base kit? What type of lens? How many lenses?
I would try and get a full frame. I think they still do make a difference, rather than APS-C. It doesn't have to be new, but you can get a fairly decent chunk of kit out there. Yeah. I know I'm a Canon man. I like Canon. People are Nikon people. They like Nikons. People are Sony. It's very particular to each person. So I won't go into details. But I think certainly if you're doing portrait or sports, you want to have a full frame. Mm-hmm. As to lenses, get the best you can with the lowest f-stop. Yeah. I still like a zoom. I've never been a prime user
I need to buy a new zoom after I broke mine. It fell out the car.
Oops.
And smashed.
Oops.
It was my 18-200 Tamron.
Oops. Yeah, they're really useful, aren't they?
It was really useful, yeah.
Yeah, it was really useful. But there is is it the trilogy? There's a 7200
Right.
2.8 tends to be a very good lens to have. A 2470, I think, is the next one down, and then it's the 1324 or something like that. I think they call them the holy trilogy of photography. If you're going to get into sports or wildlife, you're going to need something with a longer focal length, without doubt. Or you can buy a shorter focal length and a converter, 1.4 or 2 times converter. But you're going to lose some of your f-stops, and if the light's coming down, then you're still going to be able to use that nice low f number that's on the glass. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
So with that as well, video, is there anything that a videographer would need over a photographer?
Well, do you know, I still like to have, I still use a separate video camera for my video work. I have a couple of Panasonics, quite nice sensors on them. They're good in low light, but flexible enough, and they're not very big, so I can stick them on the end of a pole should I need a top shot, or they'll sit on the gimbal and they work all right. I just feel a little bit more comfortable with a separate video camera at the minute. I need to try my little mirrorless camera on my gimbal. That's my next task, and just see what I get out of that video, because that silly little thing will do 4K video.
Wow!
And I haven't got into that yet. I'm still HD.
I remember we shot in 6K at one time at
man,
work.
No way.
Oh, don't ask me about the workflow on it.
Wow.
So we had to create proxy files for each and every single clip down to 1080p, and then match them back up in Premiere when we exported it.
Yeah.
And I think we only did it in 4K in the end because no one could be bothered doing the 6K version. And plus, YouTube doesn't take 6K. So, I mean, we couldn't do it anyway. So we had to downgrade the 6K to 4K. And then the 4K was done in 1080 in the edit, or it might have even been done in 720.
Yeah.
And he didn't really know the thing until the end, and it was probably my worst ever video I've ever done, just because I didn't like working with that at all.
Yeah.
Because it was all raw files, all raw 6K files from a drone, and I'm like,
wow. Plus, you had to buy a whole set of server disks just to hold all the data.
Oh, it was ridiculous. Well, we had the DJI SSDs, and they're only about 128 or 258.
256 gig.
256 gig. So I think we had the 256 gig ones, and we filled 3 of them in an hour shoot with 6K footage. It was ridiculous. I've never seen any management like it. And then half of that footage was unusable, so we had to then copy it onto the laptop, but you could only copy parts of clips because it just couldn't handle it. And then my laptop was, I mean, when I first joined that company, I was given like a Dell all-in-one. I said to them, could you imagine me editing this on that now? This just wouldn't work at all.
No.
So, but that video went out in 4K, and we got a few comments going, "Oh, well, that isn't from that drone." But no, it is.
Actually, it is.
It is. Yeah. We just couldn't upload 6K to YouTube because it would probably just
blow
delete everything. Yeah. But I mean, I really don't think that there is a market for 6K video at the moment other than broadcast.
I would agree. I think
the same as 4K probably.
Well, yeah, 4K. You need to be watching it on a device that's going to give you 4K quality.
Yeah.
And are those devices out there yet? UHD hasn't taken over the market yet. People are still watching in HD, and they're still quite happy to do that. I don't think it's going to go the way that 3D went.
No.
Because people are continually wanting to have more detail in there, and you know, with 4K and 6K, the color definition it's eye popping.
Yeah.
Whereas 3D was quite a peculiar sort of niche thing.
Well, my first ever camera was a 3D camera. It was a Toshiba Cameleo Z130, I believe.
God, how can you remember that number?
Oh, because it was my first ever camera. And I'd come back from... Oh, where did I go? I'd come back, I think, off holiday with my dad. And I got back, it was 11 o'clock at night, I think, roughly when I got back.
Yeah.
And I remember my mum had a bath run for me.
Aye.
And it must have been near Christmas. It must have been Christmas. It was the only gift I would have got. That type of gift. Yeah, must have been Christmas. I'd just come out. Yes, I would have come back from Ireland at New Year to see my dad. And I got back about 11 o'clock, and my mum had a bath waiting for me, and she said I wasn't allowed to open it until after the bath. But it was there on my bed. It was in its box, all of its glory. It was a lovely unboxing experience. I just remember it. And I shot every event when I started on that, and I started off doing YouTube videos on that.
Mm-hmm.
And I look back on the footage, and it looks absolutely rubbish.
Mm-hmm.
It looks hideous when you look back on it now. However, at the time, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. But then as soon as I had my hands on that, I was like, oh, I want a DSLR. It was one of those things like, before that I'd had, I think it was a Kodak it was £100. And I put pennies in a jar for 2 years to save up for it with my own money. And I finally went to Argos and like spilled coins all over the desk and was like, I'm having it. And then I got the Toshiba for my Christmas present. Thank you to my mum for that. And then from there, I've just sort of upgraded and upgraded. I've got a 60D that I paid 200 quid for and sold something else to get that. Yeah. That's been sold again for 200 quid. Yeah. No loss on it, thank God.
Awesome. Yeah.
And I also got a 700D and I've also got an 80D now. But I mean, I can only use one camera at once, so I'm going to sell the 700D. Mm-hmm. But then I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll probably save the money because I need to stop spending as much. Yeah. But I'd like a new lens. It's one of those things I keep on going, I'd like a new lens, but also
I'd really like a new lens.
I mean, I'd like new kit all the time. I had when I was at my old job, I did have a tendency to buy very useless video things that no one would really need in real life. And they came in vaguely useful, like this, Loop Deck.
Yes.
It's an editing desk, and I do use it, and I do like it. And it does speed up my editing about half the time on it. Mm-hmm. Was it worth £243?
Possibly not.
I don't think so. I think I probably got one. I could have got one second hand for cheaper. Mm-hmm. And they just brought out another one since then, so the price has gone down.
Isn't that just the way as well? That's so frustrating.
It was like when I bought my Spark, my DJI Spark. Yeah. They released a Mavic 2 weeks later. Yeah. That was 100 quid more and was 4K. It's stuff like that where I'm bad timing and everything.
Oh, yeah. So. You cannot. I mean, I suppose one of the good things about Apple is that they do release stuff at the same time every year. Yeah. But everybody else just throws things at the market these days without.
That's a good question. So, would you prefer to edit on Apple, or are you a Windows man all the way?
I'm a Windows man.
Yeah.
I have used Apple. I had experience of Apple at the factory. We had a graphic design studio there. We had to integrate them into our network, which was fun. At the time, it was real fun. And then my daughter trains as a graphic designer, and she ended up with an Apple Mac or two. So I have used them, but you can get it used to be that a lot of the software, like Adobe, all their software would only run on a Mac. Yeah. Which is why you found a lot of graphics and video companies going down the Mac route, because traditionally that's the way they went. However, these days the software is cross-platform. Yeah. And I like Windows machines. Yeah. I know my way around them. I can upgrade them as and when I want. Yeah. It's all right having one of these all-in-one where you've got everything inside a lovely shell, like an Apple. What do you call it? iMac or something?
iMacs, yeah, or the new one they've got out, which is it's a Apple Mac Pro, I think.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. It's nice.
Yeah,
it looks so nice.
I know.
It's got a Pro XDR display, I think.
Hugely expensive.
I think the screen's about $5,000.
Yeah.
Over.
Yeah.
But it's a reference monitor.
Yeah.
So it's probably quite cheap when it comes to reference monitor prices.
Yeah.
But it's very expensive.
But compared to that and Windows equipment, if I feel I need to have a new video card, I can upgrade that for not a huge amount of money. If I want to put more memory in it, I can do that.
Yeah. With Apple, you'd be...
Apple, you're looking at new equipment.
And it's just, as soon as you break something with Apple, you've got to go and get it replaced, pretty much. There's not very many repairs they can do in shop.
That's right.
With I think we'd broken a Sony GH4 at work. I hadn't, someone else had, just before you say that I had.
No, I would never say that.
I think we had 3 broken, actually, and we got them repaired. But I think if whenever I had an issue with my iPod, back in the day when iPods were the range, and I went to the Apple store, and they said, "Oh, well, we can't repair it. It hasn't got any screws in it because we build them all as one. So we'll just have to, replace it.
Yeah.
And here's the price of a new one.
Yeah.
With 20 quid knocked off for your troubles.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh,
It
cheers.
was just to replace a screen.
Yeah.
The same happened with my iPad. I can't remember what broke it. But I went in and they said, "Oh, well, new iPad." I said, "Well, you can take this apart because I've seen it online."
Mm-hmm.
No, it's just a whole new unit. So I went to a
Ouch.
guy and
Keeps your sales numbers up.
And he says, "Oh, 30 quid." So we replaced the screen for 30 quid and it works.
Hurrah.
I've sold it since. But I mean, I spec'd the same laptop up as mine in Apple.
Mm-hmm.
£2,000 more.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I'm thinking like, okay, the screen could be better. Well, this is still an OLED.
Mm-hmm.
The Apple one, even though they call it, what is it, Retina?
Aye.
It's still OLED, basically. That's what it is. I'm thinking like, you've just put Apple tax on that, haven't you? You've just gone, oh, just because it's got an Apple badge. But, I mean, I keep on getting, when I'm in a computer, or when I go to a cafe and be a hipster and work at a desk in a cafe, everyone has an Apple Mac.
They do.
Everyone.
Yeah.
And everyone, you get looked down on sometimes when I'm
You pull out a Windows laptop.
yeah.
Either.
Oh, I got looked down on by one person who went, "You should own a Mac," and I went, "No,
Why?
I hate them."
Yeah, it's a little bit it's a little bit snobbery. It's a little bit form over function. But ultimately these days, as soon as Apple stopped using their own processors and went Intel,
Yeah,
then the structure of the machine is very similar.
yeah,
I think back in the day, the bonuses with the Mac was the operating system was quite compact.
yeah,
And therefore quite quick and would start up very quickly. I think Microsoft have caught up with that.
yeah. I was about to turn this off and show you the boot time on it, but I remembered we're recording the podcast.
We're recording
so
the podcast. That would be rude.
That might not be a good idea. I was like, look how fast it... No, that wouldn't.
Well, I timed my desktop. It comes up in 13 seconds now.
Wow.
So I'm quite pleased with that. For many years, Microsoft were quite bloated.
Yeah.
And they'd bring things out like Vista, which didn't work, and then they'd bring out 7, which did work.
Yeah. And then Windows 8, which we just don't speak about.
No, we don't go to Windows 8 at all. But, it's a bit like the old British car industry where they used to find out what the bugs were once they'd started selling the product.
Yeah. But I mean, like Apple has... I mean, I still find bugs when I was on my iPhone the other day because I'm busy selling it at the moment. Well, trying to. It's got scratches all over the screen, so I doubt I'll be able to sell it for that much. But it's still quite buggy, the software. I mean, I think I have a beta version on there or something. But I've just got a new Google phone when that launched, and I got it because I like the new camera on it and stuff. And
yeah, it's good quality.
It makes sense for me, and the battery was a lot better. But one thing that really, really, really annoys me is the software isn't complete on it. And Google admitted this. Like, you can still unlock my phone if my eyes are closed with Face Unlock.
Oh, that's good.
Which shouldn't happen. Apple managed to do that. Like, I'm still managing to do it there with my eyes closed. Like, anyone, when I'm sleeping, can get into my phone, which is really weird. That's a big security flaw on it. There's a few other bugs. It just powers off every so often and just goes, no, I'll just go to sleep for 10 seconds and come back on.
Awesome.
The audio sometimes doesn't work on headphones. I was like, how can you not get a product right at launch?
I don't know. I don't know what sort of quality testing they're doing down there, but there's something missing. What astounds me is, and I've noticed it more recently with Apple, is they changed the feel and the way you use things on the iPhone. I quite like an iPhone. It works for me. But now if I turn the volume up or down, it's different. It comes up with a different thing. If I turn the audio on or off, there's something different appears now. If I want to go and update my apps, it's different.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, you wouldn't have got away with that in the past.
No.
software-wise, people would have been up in arms, and there would have been.
It's just to keep you. It's so to keep you in the ecosystem, though. Like if you have it, like I've always thought, like if I have a Mac, like it'll be so easy. I can just get my messages on there. Send stuff between the two on AirDrop.
Yeah.
It'll be so easy.
Yeah.
But then I think of the limitations. I mean, I've obviously recently gone to Google. I tried to go in and cancel my Netflix subscription that I bought through iTunes, and I now can't log in because I don't have an iPhone.
Ooh, that's interesting.
It won't let me log into my iTunes to cancel it because I don't have an iPhone anymore.
Oh, very good.
So I can't manage it through Netflix because Netflix just goes, "Oh, do it through your iPhone." I go, I don't have one anymore. Bit of an issue, or I don't have one with the account on it because I wiped it.
Yeah.
As you do. And it's saying, you can use someone else's iPhone. I'm like, well, no one in my house has one. My sister does, but she won't let me touch it. And I'm like, there's no way of me even cancelling a subscription now because I've left your ecosystem.
That's scary.
It's stuff like that worries me. But then I think sort of the universalness, is that even a word?
It is now.
Of Windows and stuff. You can go from one Windows to another one. You can go from Windows to Mac, and it'll probably be quite easy.
Well, you can actually run Windows on a Mac now, if you should you wish.
The college I went to had all Macs, but they're all Windows on them. And I always find that very funny that they'd sort of gone, no, we will go down the Apple route, but put Windows on them because it's a better operating system.
Yeah. With no irony whatsoever.
Yeah. So back to business. Away from
Yeah, we've been round the houses there, haven't we, Dan?
We have indeed. So what were we talking about? We're talking about Macs and business and stuff.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
Well, we've been down a very scenic road.
Well, we can carry on down it if you want.
No, I think I'm exhausted now. You've worn me out.
Nice one. So, well, we'll stop it there then. So thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been great having you.
It's been lovely to be here, Dan. Thank you.
And we'll definitely have you back for Series 2 if that even happens.
Awesome.
If it does. But you can follow you on... Do you want to give you a little...
I'm on Facebook as Sheer Space Aspect. I'm on Twitter, I think, at Sheer Aspect. I'm on the internet as sheeraspect.com and sheeraspect.co.uk.
There we go. So don't forget to go over and check out Paul's website and social media channels. And thank you for listening. And we'll see you next week with another interview who I don't know who it will be yet, but it will be someone from this earth. See you later.